Hello and welcome to Efficient Strategy Gaming. I just wanted to thank all you guys. We're almost at 4K subscribers on YouTube. I really appreciate all the Patreons, channel members, all the donators on the live streams, everyone who's joined my Discord, all the guys that play in the MP games and help me behind the scenes. George, my editor, I really appreciate it. All the love that you guys have been giving me. I'm just going to try to give it right back through continuing on the channel, continuing the great content, and thank you very much. I appreciate it. You guys are really making it happen for me, and I appreciate that greatly. So let's get into the video here. The video today is going to be on HOI4 hotkeys. So I'm going to run you through not all the hotkeys, but just the ones that I use in multiplayer games mostly. And I'm going to tell you which ones I use and then some of the ones that I don't use because I can only memorize so many hotkeys and there's only so many hotkeys that are incredibly useful. Okay, so let's go over the first set of keys, and that's going to be basically my hand placement, my left hand placement on the keyboard. And what I do with my four fingers is I put them on QWRT. My left thumb goes on spacebar because that toggles time on and off. You guys probably already know that one, but that's my basic hand setup with my left hand. And of course, everyone's going to have, who's right-handed is going to have their right hand on their mouse. Now let's go through what my left hand does on this row of keys, because the row on your keyboard that starts with Q is the most important row in terms of Hearts of Iron 4 because they've attached all these sub menus to that row of keys. So the first keybind is Q, and that's as if you left clicked on the flag here. And that gets you into all these different tabs, but it's the political tab. W, which gets you into research. Now, I don't use this too often, but E gets you into diplomacy. I don't use the diplomacy screen a lot. That's why I have my fingers kind of like spread apart here, like it's a Vulcan V around the E key here, because I don't use this screen at all. Actually, the devs might want to take that out, really. I don't think I've used this ever in my Hearts of Iron 4 career. But anyway, R is going to get you to your trade screen, and T is going to get you to construction. Now, if I move my left pointer finger to the right, I'm going to get Y, which is going to be my production. And then if I move it again over to U, it's going to give me my division designer screen here. And if I head all the way over to I, I'm going to get my logistics tab so that I can check my stockpile. Don't go over to the logistics tab too often, but when I'm setting up production, I tend to look at my stockpile to see what I need to produce. So yeah, your left index finger is doing a lot there because it's going to be reaching over if you plan to use the keyboard like I do. Let's go into some other quality of life key bindings that I want to go over here with you today. And because I stream, I often freeze the screen so that there's no edge scrolling here. As you can see, there's no scrolling. So we go Shift, Control, F10 at the same time, and that turns the edge scrolling back on. And that's so that I can get my mouse to the right so that I'm able to like change screens on OBS or something like that, change settings on OBS. But maybe you want to toggle something on your Spotify or change a YouTube video on one of your side screens. The Shift Control F10 comes in handy as a quality of life tool. Another really good thing to use, especially in multiplayer where you don't want to be clicking around too much. You want to make fast moves, as often as possible. Is you can use K. As you can see, I was already training there, but you can use K to train planes, armies, and navies. And then you can go Shift K and that will basically train or exercise the different divisions, air wings, or navies until they have a trained status. And you can see the status, the experience status here, and a trained status would look something like this infantry division here, experience level regular, and then you'd have the same symbol here next to your air wing when they get to a regular experience level. And if you do that Shift K, it'll stop training at that point. And I think that's more of an SP move. Typically in multiplayer, what I'm doing is just training until war starts. So I don't want to toggle the training off automatically. So I don't use Shift K. I just use K in the multiplayer setting. Moving on down the list here, let's go ahead and do some unit micro things here. So we have an army down here in the Spanish Civil War. And as you know, you can right click and move the unit to different areas. But typically, on occasion, you want to move around an area. So say if there's an enemy in this province, you can literally hold down Shift and do waypoints to move your divisions around an area. And where I'm using this mostly is navigating my armored spearhead around an encirclement or something like that. I hit Shift and right click and you can do pathing. You can path them however you want. So that is very cool. And then the other thing that's going to improve the units deploying quicker is you're going to be able to toggle strategic deployment on and off by hitting Control B. And so you'll know that it's on when you get this railroad symbol here. And basically the magic of strategic redeployment is that you move so quickly and then you're not using equipment while you move. So you're not suffering attrition. So if these guys started to march, for instance, they would get some form of equipment loss because they're marching instead of getting onto trains and just chilling and going wherever they need to go. Okay, so we talked a little bit about movement there. Those are the main movement hotkeys that I use. Now, we're in the Spanish Civil War, and to grind the Spanish Civil War, what I like to do is a little maneuver that I learned from my man Dankus Mimicus. Thank you, Dankus. Great videos. I appreciate it. If you go Control right click, Control Alt right click. So that's actually wrong on the wiki. You can support attack. And what this is going to do is the division's not going to push into an area. You can see the two different icons there. The sword just means support attack. And the arrow icon means that you're actually pushing into this region. So what that's going to do is not take territory away from the enemy. You're just going to sit there and kind of support an existing attack, or you can actually just straight up support attack and not push the enemy out of a province. And that way your opponent is actually stronger, but you get to grind XP. So that's why you support attack a lot. That's actually the only reason why I would use a support attack, is grinding the Spanish Civil War or something like that. Okay, so this guy is attacking and I don't want him to. What's incredibly important in micro is the H key. So you can literally cancel all the orders and then order your divisions to do whatever they need to do, and then cancel them again with H. So particularly when you're microing tanks in like Barbarossa or something like that, the H key becomes important. Say you accidentally click like over there and you're like, oh my goodness, we don't want all this army to go that way. You can hit H, erase all the orders, and then reset everything individually. Now, Hearts of Iron 4 works like a lot of other games, and you are actually able to assign the divisions into groups. You're also able to assign provinces into groups, and you're able to do this by hitting Control and a number key. So I took Burgos here, and I basically assigned it so I can double tap 3. I assigned it to the number 3, double tap, and it'll always bring me back to this province. So that's quite nice. If you have to say, as Germany, fend off D-Day, but then all of a sudden get back to De Barbarossa, you could put maybe, I don't know, Le Havre on 4 and move basically back and forth from like Le Havre and something like Kiev area. So that's quite nice if you want to use that. I don't use that very much. And what I am going to start using is I'm going to try to start doing the actual divisions into battle groups. So if I hit like Control 5 here, see if I can do that. So I can always be attached to this. If I double tap 5, it will select this army. Oh, wow. It didn't select it if I was in a different theater there. So that's quite interesting. But if it looks like if you're in the same theater, and you double tap 5, because that's the control group, it'll snap to those divisions right there. And then actually, if I try to just assign that division to Control 6, it looks like it's going to do it. And then 5 gives me the whole army. 6 gives me just that division. So there's a lot of different permutations that you can play with there. Typically, I only use one theater, so there's not a problem using that control number command there. Okay, it worked that time, though. That's interesting. But it did not work that time. So if you're going to use that, maybe don't use different theaters. Someone in the comments below can maybe help me out with that. And other than that, I think that is all that we're going to go over today in terms of hotkeys. Yeah, I'm looking at my notes here. I don't think that there's any other hotkey that I use in Hearts of Iron 4. Of course, you can F11 and take a screenshot. There's all the F keys that will give you different screens and different views. I find that it's pretty clunky for me to get all the way up to like F1 through F12 there. So I tend to not use that at all. And in a multiplayer game or even an SP, if I'm in single player, most often I use the resource map or I use the supply area if I'm having problems with supply, and then you can kind of check supply out. But typically in a multiplayer game, I don't really, spend the time to do that. But yeah, that is an option for you with all the F keys, but don't use it at all. You can also drill down into learning all the commands here that you have available. I typically don't use that because it doesn't take that long to set up battle plans. I do use fallback lines, and I don't really use area defense orders too often. I would prefer doing fallback lines because it can basically put your units in a specific area of an overall province and not generally just in the province. So fallback lines are way better than doing area defense orders. And that's about it. Those are the hotkeys that I use in Hearts of Iron 4. Thanks again to all you guys that have been supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. And please leave me a comment below for what hotkeys you guys use. And leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.